Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session called Ugly Truths, the true stories about startups and companies. So this session is to talk honestly about startups, exactly, because missteps and mistakes and failures, they are really common and normal in the startup world. It's just that we do not really talk about them or we deal with them alone. So during the sessions, who we have in here today, we have founders and startup coaches, and we will tackle different mistakes and missteps that happen in a startup journey and how they recovered from them or how they did not recover from them. And we will also talk about how these different events impacted them, or I should say us, on personal level. So the main idea behind this session and why we are meeting today in here is to actually normalize mistakes, because mistakes are normal, and we as founders or like creators of companies, we make them a lot. Apparently 1/3 of our decisions are wrong, people. So just so you know, it's totally normal, and how important it is to learn from them and just move on. So this is about the session, and before I present our amazing speakers, a quick welcome to our participants. Hello, everyone. Say hi in the stage chat, and you can ask questions in there. So please say hi, and you can also tell us why is this topic important or interesting to you. And the reason can be because I also had a failure or a misstep, and it's all good. So once again, welcome. My name is Kasia, Lechka. I'm Paris chapter head at the plugin, and I'm also a startup-er. So I created a company called Just There, and it was a green tech that was supposed to automate recycling of soil for construction companies, and it totally failed. And this is actually the first time that I'm talking about this. And I had to learn to recover from it and move on and work on new projects. So this is something very important, and this is why we're meeting our amazing guests. So please welcome. I will just do a very quick round of table, and then I will ask you to introduce yourselves so you can tell us a little bit more about yourselves and what you're doing. So we have in here Agata Zborowska, who is COO at Conception X. Hi. We have Agnieszka Lewandowska, who is Entrepreneurship Innovation Trainer and Educator. Hello. We have Sikora, who is CEO at Planet Plus. Hi to you. And last but not least, we have Jarek, who is founder at Fundacja Dobra, Porazka, which is, guys, the Good Failure Foundation. Very, very important. So please introduce yourself to our viewers right now. Maybe we can start with Agata.
Hi, everyone. My name is Agata. As Kasia mentioned, I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Conception X, where we help PhD students launch startups. And I also have a personal interesting story of failures, which includes one company and a couple of other projects I managed to fail at. But I'll share that with you a bit later.
We'll talk about that. Thank you very much. Agnieszka?
Hi, hello everyone. Good afternoon from Warsaw. I help and work with startups to validate their idea, and sometimes when they want to grow and scale. I also work with medium and larger companies that they want to collaborate with startups or want to innovate internally. So I help them with business models, with strategy, and with experimenting as well.
Okay. Jan?
Hello everyone, my name is Jan Sikora. I have the privilege to run and to be the founder of Planet Plus, the largest cashback website in this part of Europe. For the past 10 years, we managed to get over 1 million registered users, and even more than failures, than users, I would say. And I'm happy to show about that later on during the discussion. So happy to be with you today.
Okay, great. Jarek?
Hello everyone, thank you for the invitation. I worked for a long time as a mentor for the startups, and I was the owner of a few startups years ago. But now I'm the founder of Fundacja Dobra, Porazka. In English, we call it the Foundation of the Good Failure. As Adrian wrote on the chat, we trying to remove the stigma from failure. We're trying to learn teach people how to learn from failures.
Okay, I can't wait to hear more about that. So maybe before we actually jump into failures, because I already know from our previous conversations that we have quite a lot of interesting stories to tell. Maybe we can start with the question of when are startups most likely to fail? And I think that Agnieszka will have something to say about that.
I can share my experience and my observations from several years working on a daily basis with super early stage startups. And I would say that there are three critical moments that I recognize some kind of patterns if in batches of startups we had an incubator, that they maybe not fail, but quit, I would say. And the first one was at the very beginning when they discovered that doing a startup is not like in that movies and in that newspapers, that doing a startup is a very hot and sexy and easy thing, that it's quite not secure, not certain way of doing the business and the journey, and that their idea perhaps needs some kind of changes. The second step and the second critical moment was just after the launch of the startup, when the founders discovered that there is no such big need and hype for their product, because they work very hard for several months and they had celebration moment, and it occurred, it's not so hyped as we thought it's going to be. And the third moment in that early stage journey of doing a startup is after 6-12 months, when it's like brutally visible that there is no market need, and it's very difficult to acquire new customers, new users. So I would say that the motivation at the very beginning of taking that very difficult journey and road, the second one is no market need. And I don't know, have you seen the CB Insights graph, the main reasons why startups fail, and the no market need is the first one at the first place, and almost half of them fail from this reason. And I would say the third is the team, because when it comes to motivation, it's good to have a team that help you in that lower motivation moments.
Totally. And I have to admit, I realized that I was laughing, and it's probably a nervous reaction because I've been everywhere and on every single one of the states. So I totally recognize the myself and how teams and startups can go through the stages. And this is really interesting that you as a coach noticed this as well. So maybe Jarek, you could tell us a little bit more about why do we need to talk about failure? Like, you created an organization that works on this topic. Why then?
Why? Because, sorry, do you hear me? Oh, okay. Because usually we think that the failures are ugly. Yeah? But we can swap the failures for gold. And when we learn from them, we can swap it for gold. What was happened when we are talking about failures? When we talk about failures, we reflect on how we worked and how we can improve our work, how we can improve our ideas, our products. For example, in this case, as Agnieszka said, if we will go to the market and ask about our idea, our product very early, if we don't wait when we finish the product, only present the idea, present the concept, it is the opportunity to not make the failure. It's an opportunity to improve our product, to improve our vision of the customer of the product. But if we don't talk about the failures, if we don't talk with the potential customers why they don't want to buy our product, we don't collect the knowledge we need to prepare the product in the right way. We said that it's smart to learn from our failures, but it's clever to learn from other failures. It means if we have some issues, some problems, it's very good time to ask some people, some mentors, what they think about this situation and how they worked when they failed in the future.
Okay, very, very interesting. And thank you to someone who on the chat made a comment about distinguishing quitting from failing. I think that what we were trying to underline in here is very often we quit, or like, for example, I can tell very honestly about myself, at some point we're quitting because we realized that the project was a failure. But we are here to talk about all different aspects of failing and quitting and everything. So don't worry, we will get to that as well. So getting to the point exactly, when we were running this session, we were thinking about like what happened in our stories or our startups and where we can draw lessons from it. So I think that what we can start with is the technical error, and I think Jarek will tell us a little bit more about that, because we think like, okay, we built technology is quite, you can count on it, it's reliable. We build it for that, to automate some processes, to make our life easier and so on. So this is something that, and basically it's the base of our business models, right? Because we are working in technology and innovations. This is why we are here today. But what if technology or our technical error causes us some serious troubles? Jarek, can you tell us your story?
I'm definitely happy to do that. First of all, Jarek, thank you for sharing your thoughts, and Agnieszka as well about why do we fail and why it's important that we actually fail, because failing, it's a process. And from our perspective, when we set up the business, it was around 7 years ago or so. One of the crucial things was that we were surfing. Trust me, honestly, we were surfing from one mistake to another mistake, and we were just trying to not see the risk of any potential errors that could come up. And we were growing really, really fast. And I mean like 1,000% per year from 2014 till the pandemic last year. And during the period of, 2017 or so, we managed to get and close the deal with AliExpress. Obviously, AliExpress, Alibaba Group, the biggest shop marketplace. And we were organizing an amazing event for them. It's a single day, 11/11, where loads of Poles, seriously, and even like other people from other countries, they were shopping through us. And we managed to get, thousands of transactions during that day. I'm talking about cashback transactions, right, from Planet Plus. And the thing is that something somewhere, I don't know even how, happened that this thousands of transactions, the process was that they were appearing straight away within the system. But something happened, someone clicked something, or the system didn't actually report it correctly. And the transactions appeared twice within the same period of time for that members. And as I said before, we are running the cashback site. So when you see transactions, it means that you purchase something and then you receive a chunk of money back as a cashback. So we were receiving double count of money that we were allowed them to withdraw, which means that actually we've been short enough cash, and it was around, 700,000 pounds or so. So it's around like 1 million pounds that we actually allowed people to withdraw. And the funny thing is that I'm laughing when I think about it. At that time, I was like honestly scared, and I was thinking, how come, and who's responsible, or oh my God, we're going to went bankrupt, or what's next, or blah, blah, blah. But the key thing is that when you accept the worst, that, okay, at some point you allow that people to have that money, you could either ask to receive them back. Trust me, half of them didn't actually send it back, but then you just accept it and just you move on. You accept the failure and you just go there. You just don't sit there and don't recognize yourself as a failure. You just keep going. And this is exactly what happened to us. Seriously, we were shortened of 1 million pounds within a week, and we had to recoup it, and we managed to recoup it within like 1 quarter or so. So I'm only showing that this is not that how cool we were or we are. It's only showing that we didn't accept that this is the fail that was going to close or kill the business. But this is exactly what happened. And seriously, we didn't have any investor, we didn't have any I don't know, other money because I set up the business by myself, and we grew as a startup and then as a company, and we managed to recoup it in a really simple, straight way. So yeah, this is what happens, and you have to just accept it. Once you accept it, you're just prepared that you're going to overcome it. And the good thing that Iga said, or someone else, that we have to distinguish quitting from failing. At that time, I think that most of my team was happy to quit because, like, no, we failed. And the key thing of the person who established the business, that the person who started the business is not here to accept the failure. He's not going to allow any other people to accept the failure.
A lot of lessons learned, people, so please take notes. I just want to ask one thing, because you said that actually had a huge impact on your business after all, and it had impact on people and then morale and stuff. So what specifically did you do? Did it have impact, for example, on internal procedures, or how you kind of control technology or test technology, or how to validate it and stuff? Did you have like some really specific changes after that event, or you just accepted that that was a failure and next time we need to be more careful?
No. To be honest, we completely rebuilt the system. So at that time, we didn't know that such particular issue or error could appear. So once it happened, because apparently the error wasn't from our end, it was the error from the retailer, from the shop, because they doubled the transactions by themselves. So we were just importing them. So what we've done, we just uploaded a couple of different more risk management scenarios, a couple of different algorithms to make sure that the transactions couldn't be duplicated. So we completely rebuilt the logic behind the algorithm, but we just accept that such thing could happen, and we're happy to say that, okay, it was only £1 million rather than 5 or 10, right? Because it could be even more. So we happily were laughing at it, that seriously we found something that we should be more cautious about.
Okay, so maybe I'm jumping a little bit too far, but after all, we can say that this error that cost you a lot of money prevented you from losing even more money in the future.
True. Exactly. And this is exactly what failures in startups are for. They're learning, they're teaching you, right?
Okay, great lesson. So I want to go back to something that Agnieszka has said about product market fit or offer market fit. And I think that Agata had a very interesting story around that, because sometimes we think that we actually have something that will totally take off, and then we launch, and it turns out that exactly something that Agnieszka mentioned, people are not really interested, or there is a gap of what we thought was interesting and actually is not. So can you tell us your story, Agata, and what did you learn from it?
Yes, absolutely. A textbook mistake, not speaking to customers, just having a big vision and such a beautiful idea, everyone is going to buy it. Didn't happen. And that's what I've also learned, like the hard way, because I ended up building, it was a simple tour operations company, but I actually wanted to sell Poland to the British market. And my vision was, okay, not cheap holidays, nothing like that. It was everything high end, designed, concierge service, just beautiful. You know, you could stay in a hotel in Krakow in a room which had frescoes on the walls, just would be unbelievable experience, as if you were going to Italy. But part of the problem was that people I tried to convince to go on these trips, that wasn't the vision of Poland that they've had. So what I ended up having to do was to educate them. But that can cost you a lot of time and a lot of money. So at some point you realize it's actually not worth it. So I think for me, one of the biggest mistakes is exactly what Jarek mentioned too, is not speaking to customers. Like, you really need to talk to your potential customers to understand them. What I often hear when I work with the student startups, the PhDs, is that they say, well, I don't know, how do I go and speak to a customer? Like, but where do I find them? I'm like, well, if you can't, for your customer discovery, you can't find your customers, how are you going to sell to them if you don't know where to find them, right? Like, it's the basic thing. But what I had to do was actually stop and connecting to what Jan said, you know, there's a famous spiritual speaker who says, if you're in a situation which is uncomfortable, and you need to do something about it. So what you look at, can you remove yourself from that situation? Yes or no? If no, can you change that situation? Yes or no? And if you can change it, then go and do something about it. Or you have to accept it, and then you accept the situation and you deal with the consequences. So I think that's a very important part of the process for all of us. One of the biggest reasons why startups die is really lack of the product market fit.
So can you just share with us what was the result of the story? How did the story end for this company?
Well, the story ended with me and my co-founder stopping there at some point and just thinking, okay, we're not making money. This is costing us too much effort. Return on investment is really low. This requires a lot of education. Is it worth it? No. So we just decided to shut in there and there after investing a lot of time and money in it. And that was a very important lesson for me, because in the future, I was able to actually test other ideas within like 3 weeks and not spending a year building something.
I think this one is a really a golden tip. And when I was talking to students once as well, this is really shocking for people who are building startups for the first time, is that at some point you realize that, for example, idea is interesting, but the interest is there, but maybe the interest is not big enough for you to make a profitable company. And after all, you cannot make a company that is not profitable, because you need to support your entire ecosystem, your employees and yourself from this business. And this is how startups and companies fail. So this is really interesting in your story, I think. Moving forward, I was also curious to know, because we talked about technical errors and maybe product market fit, and what about collaboration? So at one webinar for Plugin that we organized in December, I had a founder who told us that he hired the wrong person and it nearly costed him a company because of various issues and problems and technical errors it caused and so on. So how much this kind of wrong choice or a wrong choice of contractor or an employee can impact a business? And this question is specifically to Jan, because I think that he has an amazing story around this as well, how choosing the right contractor or a story with a contractor could cost him a company again. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, definitely. To be honest, I'm laughing a lot because I see myself as a loser here, but I'm so proud of being such a loser. So, guys, we're seriously growing really fast. Like, we didn't have any investor at all, and I'm such a person who seriously celebrates every single part of running the business. Like, it's normal that we have like beer o'clock on Friday. If we close a good deal on Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday as well. I'm happy to actually put the work off and then start celebrating. And my team knows really well how I am. And we're growing, and we didn't have any leash, we didn't have any boundaries, and we're just growing. We just opened the business in Czech Republic purely because that was my idea of actually making the we want to expand the business. We didn't even fly to India, but I opened the business in India, and we are running the transactions and running in India. And I bought Jalabia to just show everyone that now I'm just part of India culture right now. And at some point, when we were doing so many transactions and we were doing so many spend for our members, we have on board around, I don't know, 1,500 clients, maybe 2,000 right now, from around the globe, like Amazon, like Allegro, Groupon, Zalando, big names, big brands. I've thought that it's good point and good starting point to rebuild the system, to build something from the scratch, to hire professional people. So I let go and this is the first mistake that I made. I let go the people who were running the business from the scratch, so coding them, so coding it from the beginning. And I hired a proper, it seemed to be professional software house. It wasn't at all, but it's all about the look, like a professional company. And I told them about the specification, I told them about the budget, I told them exactly what I want. it's like, no, I went to, I don't know, Rolls-Royce salon or Range Rover, and I said that one. I don't care how much it costs, as long as it goes with the budget, but I want that one, and I don't care how you're going to build it. It's going to be proper, nice and shiny. And I wasn't looking after it. I was spending shitloads of money, and I especially use that S word because I was spending so much money that I didn't even count it on a monthly basis. That at some point, and that was like last year February, I couldn't honestly pay my people because I had to pay to IT guys, and the system wasn't ready. What is even more, as I said before, we are a cashback site, so we are living purely because we allow our members to withdraw the money. So I had to take that money and start repaying the invoices for the IT company, and it took us, I don't know, 3 to 4 months to stop allowing people to withdraw the money purely to finish the project because the project wasn't ready. At that time, we couldn't use the old Planet Plus version, so the old software. We had to use the new one, which was launched unprofessionally with lots of bugs. It didn't work. I could only tell you that we lost around, I don't know, 70% of revenue at least at that time. I noticed even more. I had to went to my investor at that time, Przelewek24, which is the biggest e-commerce payment gateway in Poland. They are our partner. I had to go to them and say, dude, if you're not going to lend me, at that time it was, I don't know, 200,000 euros, the software house is going to kill the business. And I had 24 hours to find that money. And if you think about that story, and if you read the book about Nike and the story of Nike, that guy had to find, I don't know, 10 or 20 millions to pay the taxes within 24 hours. I had to find only 200,000 euros, but it gives you the overview how crucial it is that you have to review the person that you're making the business with. At some point when the risk is small, like 2,000 euros, you don't care. I mean, you always care, but the risk is much smaller. But if you take into consideration that you're giving away the core of the business, which is for us, the website, the algorithms, the imports and everything, I wasn't cautious. I wasn't looking after it. And I would say that choosing the wrong IT or software company or employee could kill you the business, but the responsibility for that one is not the software house. It's not that person. It's me. It's honestly the me who wasn't able to look after, to control, to be in charge. I was thinking of being such a great person, or I don't know, such a great entrepreneur that I don't have to worry. People will do the thing what I have to do, and I just like, yeah, this never killed my business. So it wasn't the IT problem, the failure. It was stop being cautious about the business. You have to always be cautious. You have to be always in charge of your business. Then you are happy to see the failures before they happen. But yeah, this it is. And but the story is that after 1 year, we are on the way to recoup our business. So we are growing again, which is fun.
Story and really impactful. And I think you mentioned something that I want to ask Jarek about the culture, like how did it impact, for example, the employees? So Jarku, you are working with startups. How does this kind of events impact, for example, company culture? What changes in terms of morale, and how to recover from that?
Anytime when we make the failure, we feel very bad. We have very bad emotions. And if we have the company and the company failed, those emotions is the employees has the same emotions. What we can do, we can discuss what was happened and what we learned from this situation. I don't know what Janek learned from the situation and if he discussed this situation with his employers, but from my point of view, it was very important not focus on the history, but focus on the what we learn from the history and how we can use this learning, how you can use this new knowledge to improve our decision, to improve our job, to improve our relation between the employees, for example. And yeah, it's enough.
Thank you for that. So we just covered a few topics, and we talked about contractors, we talked about employees, and a little bit about market fit. But Agnieszka, I wanted to ask about the other side of our business, which is collaboration, and for example, collaboration with clients. And as startups, very often what we are trying to do, we attack the big ones because we want to do business with them and get all that money. And we try to collaborate with corporations. And what happens is the clash of cultures and way of doing business. Can you tell us a little bit about how to, or why this collaboration is difficult, where startups fall short?
Thank you for this question. Actually, when it comes to Polish market and Polish startup ecosystem, majority of startups are B2B, and so it means that part of them wants to create solutions that will be used by corporates. And when it comes to that crash and clash of these words, it's funny because the first thing is what I discovered when I started to work with corporate clients is that they actually, it's not natural for them, and it's not in their nature to create win-win situation. Because when I talk to startups and talk with startups, they are this bigger one, the stronger one, and they usually, but not always, luckily, talk from that power perspective. And they don't get sometimes that taking this position means that they are weakening their business partner, and it's dangerous for them as well. And when it comes to, in that puzzle, when it comes to corporates, they actually do not understand the speed and the nature of the startup business, doing business in a startup way. So they understand what Jarek and Jan said, that move fast and break things, experiment. They want to have sustainable, secure, and perfect, always the same solution, not always in cloud, because they've got their own infrastructure and infosec. And this is the first perspective. And there's also a second perspective, a startup perspective. When they want to do things fast, they understand that making scalable business means that, for example, the business model, the best, and I would say that the most favorite business model right now in the startup world is creating SaaS platform in subscription fee. So they actually want to acquire as many big companies as possible, and they don't understand sometimes that working with big brands or big companies sometimes requires like stepping into their shoes. So, for example, they cannot do fast things because they've got governance process, they've got IT security check. So it can last long, very long, even year or two. And it is also dangerous because when you are deciding to do that kind of corporate solution for corporates, it means that you need to be aware of the process of acquiring such big companies. And you have to learn how to be patient. It's not easy in the startup world. But I think that, and actually it is very important from the cash flow perspective as well, because you can kill company waiting for the contract. And so there is plenty of issues, legal, technical, I would say the cultural issues that can come up with that startup corporate collaboration. But the most crucial one is the mindset. And if you start talking with a corporate or with a startup, if you're a corporate, to have a win-win situation, you will always make it work, I would say. But it is important to understand that your business partner perspective, and that it's completely different because those words are completely different.
So as we can see in here, it's like a lot of different types of struggles that we can find on our way while being a founder or creating a startup. And I was wondering, Joanna wrote in the chat, and I really liked it, that doing a startup is lonely, exciting, sad, happy, crazy, and boring. It's like a mix. And she wrote in Polish, sorry for non-Polish speakers, ogórki kiszone z czekoladą, so pickles with chocolate. And I think it really gives back to how it feels to make a startup. So let's shift gears into this question and share maybe with our participants how it is, how does it feel on the personal level when you're a founder? And so here I will ask Agata and Jan, obviously, and then Agnieszka and Jarek from the coach perspective, how this kind of missteps and failures impact us on the personal level. How did it feel? Maybe Agata, we can start with you.
Thank you for that question. So, this is really interesting because I was thinking how best to answer this. And funnily enough, today, a situation happened to me which is completely unrelated to business, but I went mountain biking because I'm actually in Wales at the moment. So I really enjoy it. But last year, I actually fractured my foot. So I've recovered from it this last January. So I'm back on the bike. And I struggled so much just to keep on slippery trail, also very, very rocky, not really what I'm used to. And I just thought, like, this is such a good analogy for what it means to try and get back up when you have failed once, is, lift your bike up, put all the equipment, look at where you're at, allow yourself maybe to start slowly and then just have confidence. But allow yourself to stop, maybe reflect back. Did it go well? Did it not go well? Am I ready to continue? And I was thinking about that in relation to actually my business and other projects. It really is about giving yourself space and some flexibility that even that second time, it may not be perfect, and not expecting it to be perfect from the beginning as well. Because I think a lot of it is about mindset, exactly what Agnieszka mentioned. Whether you're dealing with corporates, whether, you have to go out and talk to customers, your product is not perfect, it's all in your head, right? You need to set yourself up for success, but be prepared for potentially failing as well. So just with that, I think one other thing that with business, to compare it to other than mountain biking, is a marriage, right? Sometimes things go really well in a marriage, sometimes they don't, and you learn something and you're ready for the next one. So I think that's a very good comparison. You just need to look at back, what happened in the past, and just remember that there's always the future, right?
Okay, so being a little bit more cautious this time, and also taking your time, but getting on your feet and just getting there, like taking your bike and going there. So maybe Jan, you can share your version of this struggle.
When it comes to the failure, it is a disaster. It's always, it's just be prepared that it's going to be a disaster. Every failure is a fuck up, seriously, and this is how it is. You have to accept it, and it's always like that. I honestly can say that last year when all of the thing happened, I nearly died. I honestly couldn't breathe, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything else. Half of my team left because they didn't want to fight with me. Half of my team it happened to be that they weren't the team players at that time. So as I said, the failure is always a proper fuck up on every single stage. And on a personal stage, when you take the responsibility, when you are aware that you don't care about the payroll, I mean your own payroll, but you care about the payroll of your employees, that you have to have money for them to send them at the end of the month. When you are thinking about taxes, about clients, customers, and everything, it's a proper responsibility. But hey, not everyone is an entrepreneur. Not everyone goes there and grabs what they think he deserves. So that's why you have employees and the entrepreneurs. And on the personal level, you have to have the courage and you have to have persistence to fight against these failures all the time. And at that time when it all happened to me, I started to run. I was always like a proper sports fan. So I was running a lot. And then I started wakeboarding and starting to catch the wave, because as I said before, running a business and actually, running a business and just bumping from one failure to another is like catching the waves. It's like surfing. So you have to find something that will allow you to stay focused on the main goal, but not getting distracted on the lower levels, like small failures, because it will all happen all the time. You could be running you could think of, Michał Sadowski, who was running like a proper business, and suddenly Facebook cut him off. You could think of anyone else who was running their business, and no one was thinking of such thing to happen. So you just have to have, I call it like a secure button or whatever, that you allow yourself to disappear from the situation. I'm not talking about procrastinations, but it's better to, when something is happening, it's better to, I'll take me as an example. I received a proper proposal of selling my company yesterday, and before I said yes or no, I honestly kept the deck and just kept the wave. So I had the time to rethink it. When 2 weeks ago I was thinking of launching new product, and there were like small fuck-ups about code and about the security. Before I did anything, I kept the deck and I kept the wave. So it's you have to find yourself a proper secure button for your mind, for your focus, for your strength, and be persistent. But it's happening on every single level. So you could be running a proper business, really profitable. It will hit you. At the end of the day, it will hit you.
Okay, so not to be not nice and inviting you to this session to talk about your struggles and me not talking about mine. I also struggled when I was a co-founder of my startup, and it was terrible. I often say that it's a little bit like heartbreak. Like really, it's like relationship. When something is not going in your startup, you really feel like you're torn apart and like you suffer. Like you literally suffer. You feel bad. You can't sleep. You worry all the time. And the biggest struggle is that very often you cannot share it with anyone, because very few of your friends are entrepreneurs themselves. So at this point, you start like, okay, I'm struggling. No one else is struggling. So maybe it's actually me, and so on, so on. So sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. And it's very important to have what you just said, like your safe button or yourself a safe zone, like sport or some other activity where you can kind of like ventilate all these emotions. So I wanted to ask our experts, Agnieszka, because you have observed founders for a very long time now. So what is the struggle? How these difficulties in startups impact the founder?
I would like to start from that point that very often we think about entrepreneurs and startuppers as those also guys that don't have to wear a suit and they can work anywhere, anytime. And it can be harmful because we don't talk as often, except today's panel, about alternative costs of running a business, like mental breakdowns, depression, those situations Jan mentioned. It's like, it is very difficult. For example, Michał Sadowski, he is working all the time. I assume that Jan is working all the time as well. What about family, private life, work-life balance, mental wellness? So we don't talk about those things, that being an entrepreneur, it's not the same as having a payroll in a company. And it's very stressful, and it can lead you to the mental breakdown, to depression. And it's good to talk about those things. Entrepreneurs usually do not mention about this side of the business because they want to be seen as successful, that they've got awesome business model, and they are like all in white.
Very interesting.
And I would say that just telling and talking about that running a business is a hard thing, and it's not for everyone. it's like a good starting point. Oh, we missed Kasia.
Oh, I'm still here, at least I think.
But we can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay, I hope to be back soon. So Janek, you wanted to add a comment to this?
Yeah, the thing was, thank you, Kasia. Agnieszka was said that we all as a people. It sounds like a Valesa, but it's not about being a person who has like a proper show off, who is showing off that is the best. I think I'm talking from my perspective, or Agata. I think that you have the same. You just don't focus on the failures. You want to attract only the beauty things. So only losers talks about failures, and this is normal. We all are the losers. But the thing is that we are not focusing on the failures. We want to, when the failures is coming over, we want to attract something prominent, something nice, and something happy that will come over to our head. So I totally agree with Agnieszka that we want to be seen as the successful people, but we don't want to focus on the failures. The failures are not important. Lesson learned, go on, move on. Lesson learned, the next one, next chapter. That's my perspective.
So this is very interesting what you're saying, and we need to go end soon. So this will be my last question to Jarek before we do the final question. But I will ask for the opposite thing, because in startups we always talk about this. Yeah, we need to. Failure is a part of the way. Fail fast, fail forward, and this is also why I created this session actually, and this was the idea that sometimes we romanticize failure a little bit, or we do not talk about it, or sometimes we just like romanticize it, being like, yeah, I failed, but now I'm a successful entrepreneur, whatever. I've been there, done that, but it's gone. So my question to you, to Jarek, is: do we have the tendency to romanticize failure, and actually how to deal with failure?
I saw this question, the Q&A on the stage, and I don't remember any situation that someone was to romanticize the failures. Rather, the people said about the failures were like about something what was sad or interesting because they can learn from them. But I think that I don't know how to spell it, make the failures as something romantic. I feel that it's wrong, because it means that we don't want to learn from those failures. Only we are looking for some excuses from our point of view about the failures. We should think rather what knowledge we have from the failure and how we can use this knowledge to make the successes in the future. Like Janek said, the best way is, okay, it was happened, let's make something new, let's make new success, like make new business, so on, so on, so on. I know that the people may said that I found some people, they said, I'm a failure man, I'm a failure woman because I made a lot of failures, but it's some kind of excuse for me. It's nothing valuable for me.
It also mean that the person did not kind of digest their failure, they did not move on or learn from it, maybe?
Probably yes.
Okay, so this is very important, people, to deal with your failures and to move on in life. And with this, I really wanted to thank you for an amazing and insightful session. And before we part, I wanted each of you to say the last comment, like the last tip. If you wanted, you have entrepreneurs and startuppers in our audience, and you would want to give them one tip of on failures and recovering from them. This is the moment. So a quick table round of this question. So maybe we can start with Agata. The last tip before we go.
Yes, sure. Thank you. My tip is very simple, actually. I think when you're in a place where you're about to fail or you have just failed, don't sit alone in it, because you may need advice from people or how to handle it, constructive feedback from people whom you trust. Or you may need some support while you're dealing with it, because we often think we have to do it ourselves on our own, and that's not true. So go and talk to people whom you trust.
Very, very important. Agnieszka, closing thought?
I have only one advice, and it's related not only to business. Have fun. No matter what. If you don't have fun, don't do the business.
Okay, very important. Great, thank you very much. Jarek?
I would like to say, be brave to share your failures. It can help the other people to improve their work or even life. And this supports you. This is an opportunity for you to reflect about your failures and to learn from sometimes something new from them. Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, Jan.
Thank you very much. I have two things to say. First one, really quickly.
Okay.
No one honestly gives a damn effort about failures. Don't focus on them. It will happen all the time. Don't focus on them. If you experience them, that's good. It's a process. It's a learning path. And you'll become stronger and you become a better person, better version of yourself. And this is the process. Life is a journey, running a business is a process. Just focus on that one. And the second thing, which is even more important, you could be, I'm happy to show that one on LinkedIn if you connect with me. It's always about the look. You could have failure by failure. Honestly, you have to be surrounded with, like, I know, lots of people who failed around you. It's always about the look. Just show them that you care. Just show them that you don't care about the failures. Show them that it's all about the look, and prove them wrong. Just prove them with the good numbers, and that you don't count them. You just don't count them by that. You are not accountable for the mistakes. You're only accountable for the victory that you've made, the very first one. So keep going, guys.
Which means get your bike and get back on it. So thank you very much for participation. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for sharing with us your thoughts and your histories. And thank you to our participants. And that was the session Ugly Truths. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. 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 Bye.